I gotta get going. Instead, I meet Ma and Laurent for dinner. See y'all later.
After 8 very long hours of streaming this game, I have officially completed South of Midnight, and boy, am I glad it's over.
And that's how a new weaver came to be and prosper.
What's up, guys? I hope y'all are having a great day today, just full of so much positivity and happiness, dude, because you're not really going to find too much of that in this particular review, because we are going to be talking about the latest first-party addition to the Xbox Game Pass library from Microsoft's very own Compulsion Games, and that, of course, is South of Midnight.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm gonna be sick. Don't throw up. Don't throw up.
Now, right off the bat, I just want to make it abundantly clear, I did not enjoy this game whatsoever, man. I streamed this live for 8 hours straight, and by the end of it, I was just completely checked out, because South of Midnight, I think, can best be described in one word, and that word is boring.
You're boring! You're fucking dull! You have nothing to say! You are a one-hived mind twat waffle!
When it comes down to it, man, the gameplay of South of Midnight, which is the most important part of a video game, keep in mind, is some of the worst third-person action combat I have ever seen in a modern video game, especially from a game studio that is owned by Microsoft. And on top of that, the story of South of Midnight is nothing special, man. It feels like a bunch of random events strung together for the hell of it, trying to form a cohesive story, but at no point does it ever really connect the dots properly. The game is constantly throwing new characters in your face and expecting you to care about them on an emotional level, when in reality you only get to see them on screen for maybe 10 to 20 seconds at most in a lot of cases. So you never really get a chance to actually connect to them, but suddenly you're supposed to have this deep-rooted emotional connection as you learn about their struggles and their life story. It's just, I don't know, dude. I don't think this game is well done whatsoever. I think it fails in pretty much every aspect. It's not a good gameplay experience. I don't think it's a good story. The only group of people I think I could see this appealing to are the Disney adults out there, like the grown motherfuckers watching animated musicals in their free time. They might like this game because, for all intents and purposes, you could tell that South of Midnight was trying to be like a modern Disney musical.
I chew on every little wrong. Guilt from crimes was too strong. At night I'd lie awake in bed and ponder what I should have said. Regret would dog me all life long. All I did just felt so wrong until Kushma came along. Dreammaker, kingmaker, Lord of bargain chance. Spin the wheel and make a wish. There's no payment in advance. Kushma master, power vaster. No one comes close to him. All are welcome to stay forever. Time to sink or swim. So, what's on offer with this proffer? Choose an ending, you're the author. Old mistakes become successes. Your choices, he obsesses until my game.
And while to their credit, they did succeed in being like a modern Disney movie in the sense that it is definitely not worth your time and money, man. So I guess mission successful on that front. But overall, I really just cannot recommend this game. There are so many better ways to use your precious time, and be glad that I wasted mine playing through it so you don't have to. And, you know, I don't typically do this in my videos, but if you guys could drop a like on this particular one, I would really appreciate it. This game is super niche, and in probably 2 to 3 days, I don't think anyone is going to give a flying fuck about it. This game peaked at 500 concurrent players for early access on Steam. I do not think this game is going to be doing numbers on YouTube, but maybe I'm wrong. So if you could help your boy out, you know, I would really appreciate it. But with that said, I think this is the perfect opportunity to go ahead and get into the gameplay of South of Midnight.
Me next. Me and Mama next.
So when it comes to the gameplay of South of Midnight, there is some good, but a lot of bad. And all the good ideas that it does implement are held back by a number of different factors that really, if maybe the game had more development time, they brought on people who actually knew what they were doing instead of hiring Sweet Baby Inc. to do the writing, that might have been more beneficial to the overall experience. But there is like a layer of kind of cool ideas there. It's just the execution, whether it be the combat or the traversal, is extremely piss poor. So what I want to do first is talk about the traversal, because I would say about 70% of your time playing South of Midnight, it plays like a light platformer, and I say that very loosely because it's basically a walking simulator with the occasional jump over gap sections. So don't really think it's like a platformer like something like Astrobot or a Mario game or anything like that, but it does have some light platforming mechanics for the walk and talk segments of the game. Now, the traversal, I do think, does some things right. I really like the grappling hook, I like the wall running, I like the dashing in midair, and I did really like the glider mechanic that you use to glide from one point to the other. I think those were all well done for the most part. The problem is that when you try to chain them, when you try to use them in any sort of urgency, that's when things really start to fall apart, and you can see the quirks and jankiness really starting to rear its ugly head. Like, for example, when you're using the grappling hook and you're jumping from point to point to point, you will get a prompt when you're ready to grapple on to the next point, LT. Well, what happens is when you press LT, there is a cooldown timer between grapple points. So what could happen is, even if you see the prompt on your screen to press LT, if you press it too fast before that arbitrary timer runs out, you will fall to your death and die. And yes, in case you were wondering, Hazel cannot swim.
Everything else around here feels so wrong.
You know, I thought they brought in Sweet Baby Inc. to avoid harmful stereotypes, but, you know, I guess not. Maybe they needed it for accurate representation, but at least they didn't repeat the mistake of Forspoken and making her a 3 times convicted felon with an absent black father who steals for a living. In this game, at least Hazel's dad is white, and also dead.
Hey, Dad. Headed to your old place. Got no other options. I'm so scared for Mama. Dad, if you're up there, keep her safe.
And no, the grave did not say Floyd. I thought it did at first on first glance, but it says Flood instead. And if you need more proof... But anyway, getting back on track here, I don't know, I just went on a tangent. I was saving that for the story section, but I couldn't resist myself. But anyway, there's other examples where I was jumping from point to point, I was trying to grab onto a wall, and the game just refused to clamber onto the ledge, even though I was obviously right on top of it. There's also this feature in the game called a weave, which, no, not that type of weave. But yeah, there's a feature in the game called a weave where basically you could pull objects into existence using your black girl magic. Think kind of like Elizabeth's tear mechanic from BioShock Infinite. It's pretty similar to that for all intents and purposes. But basically you use it by pressing LB and it will pull in different objects into the environment that you use to traverse the environment. Well, there was one section in the game I got to where I got to a story progression point and the weave feature just straight up refused to work. Now, there's also another issue I have with this particular feature. When you're trying to use it while moving, it doesn't work. You have to be on the ground, feet planted, standing still, in order to summon in these objects. But in a lot of cases, you should be able to summon them in while you're wall running, swinging from a grappling hook, jumping from platform to platform. But instead, you have to stop everything, summon it in, wait a few seconds, and then you can continue on. So it just completely kills the flow of an otherwise, somewhat fun movement system. And it's really a mystery to me why you can't use it while mobile. It makes really no sense whatsoever. Like, it reminds me of, that mission in Titanfall 2 that I'm sure everybody remembers, where you're bouncing between the two timelines, using that to platform through the level. Like, they could have had an opportunity to do something along the lines of that, but they just didn't. They made it extremely bland and boring and uninspired, and it's just like everything else in this game feels incredibly half-baked. So while I did like the traversal for the most part, it's just really, really held back. And that's not even to mention the extremely repetitive nature of the traversal, because every single mission is structured the exact same in this game. In pretty much every single chapter from 1 to 13, you will be dropped into an area. You then platform through the environment, arrive at 3 to 4 different combat arenas, and yes, this game uses a combat arena system. There are no enemies just scattered throughout the map. You have to arrive at a very specific point on the map in order for enemies to spawn. You'll kill 2 to 3 waves of enemies. You'll break like this pod thing that has been summoning them, and you'll collect a memory fragment in a bottle. Well, once you collect all 4 memory fragments in the bottle on that mission, you will then go into a traversal chase sequence that uses the exact same animation, intro, and just everything from start to finish, and it's incredibly repetitive. Then after that point, you do some more light platforming and either arrive at the end of the mission or the final boss for that particular chapter, and rinse and repeat. So it's not even like you're really mixing anything up, and you get all of your traversal mechanics very early on and don't really unlock anything that enables you to use them more effectively or makes the game more fun or gives you a higher skill ceiling or really anything at all. It just feels incredibly on rails. The parkour and climbing mechanics feels like it's solely there in order to waste your time. It's comically slow. It feels worse than games like Uncharted and the Tomb Raider reboots on the PlayStation 3. There's really just no excuse for how mediocre a lot of the shit in this game is whatsoever. And on top of that, even when you're traversing the environment, there are collectibles you can find, but the collectibles are literally pieces of sheet metal on the ground that you have to flip over with your powers. I shit you not. That is the collectible mechanic in this game. Now, it does mix up a little bit where you can use your little minion companion stuffed animal brought to life doll thingy called Crouton, and you shoot him in these special like rabbit holes in order to go and activate different things for Hazel in order to progress, which I guess kind of mixes it up every once in a while, but not really, man. Overall, this game is incredibly underwhelming. It has some good ideas. It just never executes on them in any way that's actually meaningful or memorable whatsoever, and it feels very, very repetitive very quickly about a third of the way into the game. And by the end of it, you're just ready for it to be over. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the combat.
Me next. Me and Mama next.
When it comes to the combat of South of Midnight, bad is the word I would use. This is genuinely an unfun game to play in combat. The combat feels incredibly uninspired. It's some of the most generic third-person action combat I have seen in recent memory, and overall, it's just not fun. Everything feels really clunky. There's like this massive disconnect with like the hit registration and the time. Like, just everything feels off. It's very floaty, non-impactful, and you're fighting the same 4 enemy types throughout the entire game. There's almost no enemy variety. Every single combat encounter plays out the exact same. You're spamming the exact same combos the entire fucking time, waiting for your abilities to cool down to do a little bit more damage, and overall, it's genuinely just not fun to play. This has to be probably the weakest part of South of Midnight, and that is the combat experience, which, in a game with magical powers and shit, that should be the most fun part. Like, for all of Forspoken's flaws, when it came to the shitty writing, the bad story, the awful characters, the game game was actually still kind of fun to play at like a core gameplay level. That was actually one of the few redeeming qualities. But in Microsoft's version of Forspoken, South of Midnight, the game is just genuinely unfun, and when you pair it with a weak story, repetitive fucking game design, and overall nothing really special to take away from it, it makes it that much worse. Combat is something you dread, not look forward to. There's no sense of progression. You're not constantly unlocking new abilities or weapons or anything like that. You pretty much get everything right up front, and that's it. You're going to be doing the exact same thing for 8 hours. And boss fights, in my opinion, are also a very weak point of this game. A lot of them are gimmick boss fights, but the ones where you actually have to fight them have really unfair hitboxes and overall just act like homing missiles and immediately will do like a 180-degree turn. So it's not even a game where positioning matters. All that matters is that you hit the dodge button at the exact millisecond that the enemy is about to make contact with you. It's not a fun experience, in my opinion. I really think this was the single worst part of the game. And to make it even worse, there's literally a feature in this game where you can turn off boss fights. So if that tells you anything, a game that disables the combat encounters, that is never a good sign, man, because if they were actually worth experiencing and actually meant something and added to the overall experience, no game dev worth their salt would ever include an option like that. So overall, I think the combat is the weakest aspect of South of Midnight and really holds the game back from even being somewhat ironically fun, kind of like Forspoken was when I played through that. This is worse than Forspoken in pretty much every single way you can name. So I don't really want to spend a ton of time on this because you're probably going to see combat in the background of the rest of this video anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I think by now you probably have a good idea. If you've seen it for 2 minutes, that's what you're going to be doing for 8 hours. So yeah, it's not exactly exciting, it's nothing innovative, and it sure as shit ain't fun. And that definitely is a massive red flag when we're talking about a video game after all. So let's go ahead and move on to the bread and butter of South of Midnight, and that is its southern inspired folklore story.
Me next. Me and Mama next.
So I am not going to do a point-by-point breakdown of the South of Midnight story because, honestly, I'm not even going to try to make sense of it. It is extremely generic. Basically what happens is a hurricane is coming and Hazel's mom and her house gets swept away in the water, which is stupid. But whatever, so Hazel chases after her, and in the process of doing so, falls into the river, awakening her black girl magic. She goes to her white grandmother's house that she obviously has disdain for, and there's supposed to be some racial tension there, 100%. But after this initial meeting, Hazel lets her grandmother know what happened. Her grandmother does not give a fuck. Based. And basically, Hazel lets her grandma know that she can see strands and all this other stuff that's going on. And basically, the grandmother gives us our first hint of foreshadowing on which way the plot is going to go.
I don't need you. I never did. And I'm gonna find my mama on my own. What the hell is wrong with you?
Watch your toe.
She was only helping.
I have my own family to think of.
Family? Trey? Cherie?
Keep her name off your lips! She deserves the world!
She deserved peace. You could have asked Smiley for help, you murderer.
Stupid girl. With this, I can give her life.
You used me.
I did. Why should I borrow when I can just take? You look so much like your mother. But you're just like my feckless son. A mistake.
And if you guessed that the old racist white lady is the villain of this story, you would be absolutely correct, because she is the cause of all the evil or stigma in the land, which is aptly named. But anyway, Hazel breaks into one of the rooms in her grandmother's house after being locked up and finds some old weaver gear, which allows her to channel her black girl magic, and she sets off on her journey to find her mom.
Mama will be there in the morning. Mama will be there in the morning.
Me next. Me and Mama next.
Now, from here on out, like I mentioned previously, the story follows a very similar route. Every single mission involves you going into this, I wouldn't even say exploration area, it's more linear than anything, parkouring your way through the environment to 4 different spots where enemies spawn. You have to defeat 2 to 3 waves of enemies, and then you unlock a memory fragment that you put inside of a bottle, which then you activate a chase sequence in which the big bad of that particular area chases you in like the spirit world realm, and you have to run towards the bottle tree, put the bottle back on the tree to heal the hurt of the land, essentially. And you rinse and repeat this process about 10 times throughout the game. It becomes incredibly repetitive, and the game suffers from a very common symptom that a lot of modern games have, which is expecting you to care about characters immediately, because this game tells the story through the stories of random NPCs you encounter, and throughout these various missions you learn about their backstory and whatever hardship or hurt they went through that Hazel needs to use her black girl magic on to heal, essentially. And the problem is you never really get a chance to meet these characters. You never really give a shit, because every single time you learn about the characters is through the same repetitive, just like Forspoken, holographic cutscene where you just listen to dialogue for 3 to 5 minutes and you just want to zone out because you already hated your time playing the combat, so now you have to sit there and watch a boring ass cutscene. So it just doesn't work. The pacing is not very good in my opinion, but yeah, you don't really give a shit about any of these characters, and the game does do something unique, I guess I'll give it credit for, and every single level has a musical theme that becomes more and more prominent in the background the longer you play that particular chapter. And let's just say some of them are okay, but most of them are outright unbearable.
Counting the strands at my own pace. We are all connected, running a race. The world is not that simple. The journey must be nimble. Try saving all or saving none. 'Cause life is a fight to be won. My footsteps, they echo, I'm hearing crows. I follow the river where no one knows. Stories be telling, one secret they hide. For truth is not out there, truth is inside. We are all hurting under cruel sun. I'll keep trying, this fight will be won.
So it does have that unique factor going for it. Personally, I did not really care about it that much. I don't really think it made up for all the other shortcomings, but hey, it's something. Like I mentioned, the Disney adults will probably like that aspect of the game. But throughout the entire story, you're just basically trying to hunt down your mom and find out where she went, which leads you to Huggin' Molly, and you find out that Huggin' Molly has been snatching kids, but in reality, Huggin' Molly is actually just misunderstood because your mother has been working with this massive 6-armed spider monster to kidnap children because Hazel's mother is a social worker who just cares too much.
This picture, I could kill a man. Something's gotta change. I feel like a thread being pulled far too taut, trying to make the world a better place, not for me, for her. I have to keep these kids safe. I wish I could do more.
And if you know anything about a certain statistic surrounding public school teachers and social workers, that's a little bit concerning. But yeah, this massive spider monster and Hazel's mother have been kidnapping children from abusive white families, I shit you not. And then we find out that Granny really is the villain because she decides to kill Huggin' Molly and cut her heart out, while Huggin' Molly does absolutely nothing to fight back because she's just such a pacifist, even though you just went through a massive boss fight against her. But anyway, Grandma cuts the heart out of Huggin' Molly in order to revive her dead daughter, who Hazel's father, when he was a kid, accidentally drowned when they were children, because there was this whole thing about, you know, the dress getting dirty and it was Hazel's father's fault. So he went to go wash her off in the river and she drowned on accident and blah, blah, blah. Basically, that's the whole reason why Grandma is evil, is because she hates her son and loved her precious daughter that died on her too young. So she kills Huggin' Molly, takes her heart in order to try and revive her daughter, which is when the story takes another fucking retarded turn and we encounter a character by the name of Ro. And basically we get teleported to like his version of hell, essentially, which is you relive certain memories over and over and over and over again. So Hazel has to break out of there. You have yet another generic Slop chapter that involves you going to 4 different spots, running from the big bad, doing a generic Slop boss fight, and then it's time to confront Grandma because you and your mom are reunited. So you go to your grandma's house, you trick her into taking a magic hairbrush that will trap her in Ro's like hellscape realm forever, because you find out that this is actually literally... And because the grandma is white, she has obviously stolen that magic. Black magic, they make sure to point out.
Why can't you do it yourself? I'd imagine Kushma's right-hand man can give a hairbrush to an old woman.
That old woman is what we call a false stitcher. Now, unlike you, she wasn't chosen to be a weaver. Instead, she uses a dark magic, killing creatures and tearing through the grand tapestry, leaving a trail of corruption behind.
That explains a lot.
She needs to be punished for abusing that power, so you basically condemn your own grandmother to an eternity in a mind prison where she can essentially be tortured until the end of days. Like, I shit you not, man. This game does not even try to hide the hatred for a certain type of character trait in this particular instance. But overall, that is the story of South of Midnight. It ends abruptly after that, and it is complete and utter slop. It's not even like woke enough to be funny. Like, there are definitely some woke moments, and just overall the writing is absolute dog shit. So I'll put a little compilation right here to give you a taste.
This was one of those old-timey pleasure boats I wouldn't have been allowed on, unless it was to scrub toilets.
I wish you were here, Dad. Does she lock all the doors in here? Is there something behind that shelf? Huh. Rich people's houses.
I wish we had more carefree moments like that together.
I wish you were here. I don't need you. I never did. And I'm gonna find my mama on my own. Oh, man. Oh, I'm gonna be sick. Don't throw up. Don't throw up. There's the tangle.
But yeah, there was nothing so inherently woke that it was actually memorable. Like, obviously, this is a woke game. It's made by Sweet Baby Inc. There's a bunch of racial undertones and commentary and all sorts of shit scattered throughout. Of course, there's the whole controversy about race swapping the main character, who was originally supposed to be a white girl with blonde hair. Like, yeah, this game is definitely woke. It is written and directed by Sweet Baby Inc., and I believe it was on their website as the game they showed off for their writing before they purged their website, which I don't know if they've put it back up or not. But anyway, yeah, the game is obviously woke, but it's not so woke to where it actually would make it somewhat entertaining to play through. It's more so boring than anything else, and that's its biggest sin, man. There really is nothing even notable about this game. People are going to forget about it almost immediately, and the story definitely falls into that same camp. So I think I've talked about this game enough at this point, guys. I think we should probably just go ahead and wrap this shit up.
Me next. Me and Mama next.
But in conclusion, guys, South of Midnight is definitely not worth your time. If you couldn't figure that out by now, I don't know what to tell you. I genuinely did not enjoy this game at all. I think it had maybe like glimmers of potential, but never actually realized it. The combat and gameplay experience was incredibly bland, uninspired, and got incredibly boring within the first hour or two, which when you're going into a game for 8 hours with nothing changing and you're already bored in the first hour, that is not going to bode well for the rest of your experience. I think the story for the most part is pretty shit. I mean, sure, it does do some unique things with like the musical backgrounds, and I guess the setting is somewhat unique for what it is, but I don't really feel like they ever did anything that really differentiated it in any memorable sort of way where you're gonna walk away from this story and be like, oh my god, that was like really something different. This is just another throwaway Xbox Game Pass filler title to convince people that they're somehow getting their money's worth with their $20 a month membership, when in reality, you would never be buying these fucking dog shit games they fill the service with, so you're really just paying for absolutely nothing. You'd be better off taking your 20 bucks a month and buying games you're actually fucking interested in, because I highly doubt anyone actually bought this utter dog shit, man. It did peak at like 500 concurrent players for early access on Steam, so obviously it's not exactly doing numbers. It's probably not even going to be remembered in a week, so yeah, I'm probably dumb for making this review video because I highly doubt anyone's actually going to give a fuck enough to even watch it or look this game up in the first place. So, I don't know, man. If I had to give this game a rating, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 10. This is definitely not the worst game I've played. Everything functioned for the most part, so I'm not going to give it a 1 or a 2, but holy shit, there is genuinely almost nothing positive I can say about it. Your time will be spent better in pretty much any other instance. Even Assassin's Creed Shadows isn't this bad. So, anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this video today. If you did enjoy it, make sure to drop a like on it. I would greatly appreciate it. And let me know in the comments section if you plan on playing South of Midnight. Yeah, no, nobody's going to fucking play this shit. This game will be forgotten in a few days at most. So, yeah, I'm not even going to bother asking. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, help your boy out. Drop a like. Let me know your thoughts on the video in the comments section below. And as always, I do want to thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day and checking out this video. And I really do appreciate all the recent support on the channel. You guys are the fucking best. But with that shit said, I will catch you guys next time.